Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, soul mentoring, and a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And you can learn more at my website, illuminatingSouls.com, where you can also sign up for my mailing list. I also post regularly on Facebook, and so there's lots of ways that we can connect. But for now, the angels and I are here to help you come into a sweet, soothing, beautiful space where you can replenish and drift off, especially if it's your bedtime. So, I created this podcast out of my great love for the genre of sleep podcasts. I have been listening to them for many years, and it is part of my self-care that each evening as I get ready for bed, I put in my earbuds and I pick an episode. I have, maybe 8 different podcasts I go between depending on what my mood is. And I do listen to this one, and it does put me to sleep. So I can give you my own testimonial that this works. And if you're new to the world of sleep podcasts, what I love about them is it's a very gentle narrative. That this is going to be the timbre of my voice. There aren't going to be loud noises. And I'm just going to ramble and hang out with you for about the next hour or so. And also, since I'm an angelic practitioner, I will bring the angels in to bring some extra divine love your way. And then we're going to have a story time. And in each episode, the story time's a little bit different. In this story time, we're going to flip through the pages of an old periodical. But more about that later. So, if you're a regular listener, you will notice that I have been publishing quite a few replays. And I don't want you to think it's because I no longer love doing this podcast. It's just that my energy's been a little wonky. And if you know what's going on in the world right now, it probably won't surprise you. And if you're wondering what I'm referring to, it's the energy about the 2024 elections. And this is not going to be a political conversation, I promise. Rather, I think where I would like to drop into this exploration with you is many of you who listen are also empaths or light workers. We are ones who feel deeply, and often in life we know what we're feeling and why, but also as vessels of light, we can feel disruptions and perhaps not know the point of origin, might not even be ours. So at times like this, when we are going through fairly significant change and there's a deep emotional response in the collective, I find that I experience it. In a way, you can think of it like energetic weather. And I certainly have skills to clear it from my field. But sometimes I feel like it is something to stay in for a little while so that I can understand it better. That it's not just about soaring up to the angelic realm and getting out of Dodge. It's about understanding and learning and observing and participating in this experience that the collective is going through. So for me, in these kinds of moments, my self-care usually invites me to take more time to myself. I love my work, and my work does not at all feel like work. So I am totally up for my classes and my mentoring sessions and the angel sessions, because all of those I co-create with the angels. The parts of my work that tend to rely more on my earthly energy are the ones that I don't have as much, my mother would say, oomph. So I just had a moment of mom energy. That I just don't have the oomph for, that I don't have that extra little mojo. And so I hope you've been enjoying the replays. I'm so glad that past me recorded so many episodes, because there's plenty to keep you and myself included company as we drift off to sleep. But I promised myself that I would come here to the microphone and record this episode for you. So if you're feeling a little wobbly or wonky, you're in good company. There's a pretty significant changing tide at hand, and it can feel unsettling. And so that's why I'm here with you, to help you connect and center and come into the love that is here for you. It's one of the things that helps me the most, is to come into the company of the angels and ask them to help clear my energy field of that which is not mine. So if that sounds helpful for you, how about I call in the angels and have them bring some healing, clearing light to you and to everyone who's listening. So I'm going to invite you to get comfortable in whatever way works best for you. I know many of you listen as you're drifting off to sleep. And so if that is you, cozy on up and snuggle on in. And if you're one of our listeners who listens during your waking hours, just center as best you can. Definitely keep your eyes open if you're operating heavy machinery, and stay centered and present. So in essence, you take good care of you in this process. So I'm going to invite you to just take a few nice deep breaths in and out as we call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love and understanding, altitude and light. I ask that you bring forward the perfect blend of whatever energies and light are needed for each of our beloveds. I ask that you bring forward prayers of healing and inspiration, resiliency and goodness. And in this moment, I am so deeply grateful for this opportunity to be here with you. That however you found your way here to this episode, I am grateful for the opportunity to shine this love upon you now. Because you are a beloved child of this universe, and you are born of the breath of God that is experiencing the world as you. You are one of those who helps bring more light into this world. You believe in the power of kindness and empathy. And you are deeply connected with your humanity. You might think that these sound like very ordinary qualities, but as you look around the world, you will notice that sometimes it feels like kindness and empathy, understanding, generosity of spirit, connecting with humanity can feel like it's in a short supply sometimes. So I invite you to breathe into the strength of all that you are, the power of all that you are. Kindness is born of strength. Kindness is born of generosity of spirit. Kindness is born of abundance that says, I welcome you into this moment. There's space for you here. I have plenty to share. And just breathe. So I do. I welcome you into this moment. There's space for you here. There's plenty of room for you. And just allow a beautiful column of light to form all around you that is flowing to you with love from your angels as they help to clear away anything that is not yours, anything you no longer need to carry or embody. Just to allow your energy field to be cleared through divine love. I was facilitating a meditation yesterday in one of my classes, and the guides I channeled, Josephus and the Wisdom Council, were actually the ones who were facilitating the process. And they brought us to the healing temple, and then they said they were going to show us in our imagination whatever kind of healing process they would lead us through. And they showed me an enormous violet flame. And rather than just placing things in the flame, they said, put your whole self in. You know, like the hokey pokey. You put your whole self in. They're like, just put your whole self into the violet flame and it'll burn off anything you don't need to carry anymore. Because it felt like a lot. Listen, I don't know how to talk about this without really talking about this, but I will just say it's a lot. It's a lot what is happening, and I'm so glad I do this work, and I'm so glad I get perspective from the angels and understanding. And yet I'm a divine being having a human experience, and I do not get to escape my human experiences. I am a woman who feels deeply about this world. And I have opinions and emotions and all the things that a person has. I have. And it's interesting because as a spiritual teacher and practitioner, the typical trajectory is that I will move through an experience. And then once I've moved through it and perhaps have learned from it, then I will go back and help others with that material. So I'm not necessarily in the thick of it, going through my process simultaneously with the people I'm here to serve. But there are exceptions to this. The pandemic was one of them. This would be another. It's not as if I can go soaring up to the angelic realm and just have this beautiful higher perspective of everything. I'm in it. As I've been sharing with people, I feel rough around the edges. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was very sweet. I had people reaching out to me the first week after the election, and they asked me if I'd channeled about the election yet, and I said no. No, because I first have to go through my own experience. I'm not looking to have this reframed from a higher perspective. I need to be present in my life and in my process right now. Because it is only through living the experience that I learn from it. So I've been in it, and it's okay that I'm in it. I'm meant to be. It doesn't mean you have to be in it too, but for me right now, this is life. And I've been crocheting a lot. I am finding that crocheting, the rhythm of the needle and the yarn and the creation of something beautiful, is really soothing me. And I'm buying way too much yarn. So much yarn. I have many projects that I will be doing for a while. And so I'm focusing on the things that bring me joy, that give me a sense of a connection with the light, things over which I have positive influence, like a skein of yarn and my crochet hook. I can create a blanket. That I can do. I cannot solve the world's problems, but I can crochet a blanket. And some days that's everything. That's exactly what I need to feel centered. So I don't want to even pretend to know how you are feeling, especially because I have no idea when you're going to listen to this. You might listen to this 5 years from now and life will be very different. I guess I just share all of this with you to let you know that having a human experience is part of the game plan here. I never have the aspiration while I'm still here in my life as Laurel on the earth plane to escape the human experience. That's why I'm here. And so I seek to transmute my earthly experiences to gain better understanding and bring in more love and light and understanding and altitude. But it doesn't mean that I get to opt out. Quite often in this kind of journey, we call it doing a spiritual bypass, where somebody immediately goes to, well, everything happens for a reason. And let me just tell you, I dislike that adage because I feel like it gets weaponized. Everything doesn't happen for a reason, at least at the level at which we comprehend life. Storms happen. Unexpected things happen. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people, and unexpected things happen, and life is unpredictable, and life is shadow and light. And I do not say that with any fear or darkness. It simply is. Life is everything. Right? I'm 62 years old. I've had amazing, beautiful experiences, and I've had horrible ones. Right? It's the whole continuum. And I think sometimes people might perceive that this journey of awakening, awareness, and spirituality is about somehow getting to opt out. And it really isn't. It's more about having more fluidity and resiliency, because whereas 30 years ago, perhaps I would have spent years navigating a pain point in my life, now I might be able to go through it in a week, a few months. I have tools and resources, and I get to come into this beautiful energy field with you and the angels. And it lifts from me that which can be lifted gracefully. And it's amazing how much can be lifted gracefully. I always love to share this, that if you're feeling upset, overwhelmed, angry, and you don't know the cause of it, ask, is this mine? Does this even belong to me? And if you get a yes, say, well, how much of this is mine? Usually very little of it is mine. So it's super easy to clear anything that is not yours because you need not carry it. So just take a breath in and the angels will clear from you that which is not yours, that which you no longer need to carry, so that you can come into center. Because your light is precious and your light is needed in this world. And there are so many of us who are devoted to light and kindness and compassion and goodness. There are many, many of us here. And we gather together and we spark each other's light. So take a deep breath in and know that you're in the right place. And I'm grateful you are here. And if you are preparing for sleep, I wish you the sweetest of dreams. And we're going to move on into story time. So just get cozy in the best way you can. And we will go on an adventure together. And as soon as I said that, I thought, wow, I'm really going to oversell this, an adventure. It sounds like we're, going on some great fantasy, and we're not. So here's what we're going to be doing in this story time. There is a really cool old newspaper that was published in Hollywood in the early 1900s, and it's called Holly Leaves. And so we're going to be perusing the pages of Holly Leaves from September 1919. Now, I've shared this before, but in case you're new here, I've lived in California since 1985, with the exception of 1 year in New York, but I grew up in the Chicago area. So if you are from, let's say, Europe or Asia, another country that has a much older grasp of civilization, you may not reconcile how new things are here in the U.S., especially in California. New to, I would say, the newer immigrants, not, of course, to the Native Americans who've been here all along. But for instance, in Hollywood was just getting established in the early 1900s. Streets were just getting paved, parks were being developed, the Griffith Observatory was being built. So many of the things that we now know Hollywood for were just getting started. There was still a lot of undeveloped land in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, Westwood. All of this was fairly new. So I'm always very fascinated, because I lived there for so long in the Los Angeles area, to read through Holly Leaves. So one, just it's a little snippet. It's a very ordinary piece of news that normally you would look past. I just thought this was interesting. It is about the widening of Stanley Avenue. Now, Stanley Avenue is a street that I've driven on many, many times. But here's the moment where they decided to widen it. So the opening of Stanley Avenue north of Sunset Boulevard to the full width of the 60 feet by the condemnation of the 30-foot strip on the west side of the street is at last a fact, so far as the legal preliminaries are concerned, the City Council having passed the ordinance for that purpose on the petition of a large number of property owners. The action was hastened owing to the preparation of the owner of the strip, a Mr. Shedd from Arizona, to erect there a row of cheap houses which would have been a great detriment to the neighborhood. So nothing much has changed, yes? Well, we need cheap housing, but not over here by me. That was going on back in 1919 too. A local delegation took the matter to the city fathers and succeeded in having the menace removed by the street opening process. Wow, that sounds familiar, right? And other things here, you can buy an electric fan. This is pre-air conditioning. I'm so glad that I incarnated when air conditioning is a thing. There's different motor cars that you can use. And again, just a reminder, this is a sleep podcast, so it's meant to be a little boring. So, if this was a regular conversation and we were having lunch, I would not talk to you about the widening of Stanley back in the day, but it's a sleep podcast. So I'm just keeping you company until you drift off. The other thing I think is so interesting is the newspapers would be filled with things that were happening in society. So and so is visiting from here and there, and someone else had a dinner party. So here's one of those. The birthday of Miss Mary Lashley of Memphis, Tennessee, was the occasion of a party participated in by 36 young people at the home of her aunt, Mrs. Billings of Leland Way and Cherokee Avenue, on Wednesday evening. The house was beautifully decorated, and dancing was the chief attraction of the evening. Miss Ursula Creighton assisted Miss Lashley and was the first one to cut the large birthday cake, from which each guest carved a slice, the while expressing a wish for the hostess. Miss Dorothy Stroud got the piece with the ring. I'm assuming that was the thing, kind of like the Mardi Gras cake when you get the baby. So there was a ring. I wonder if it was a nice ring. The variety was given to the evening's pleasure by the fortune-telling of Mrs. Smith in a booth on the porch. Many of the young ladies present were members of the Black Cat Club recently organized. Mrs. Lydia McCardle of Birmingham, Alabama, who is visiting in Southern California, will be the guest of Mrs. L.S. Moyers of 5843 La Mirada Avenue for the next 10 days. Can you imagine? And Laurel Bleadon-Maffei will be hosting her friend. It just wouldn't really be news, would it? Let's see, the only piece of information I can share is Cherokee Avenue in Hollywood. One of the main post offices is on Cherokee. I don't know where that is in relation to Mrs. Billings' home, but it's there. So if you're wondering what things cost back in the day, we have an ad from Hoffman's Grocery and Meat Market. So a half-pound tin of Hershey's Cocoa is 19 cents. A 1-pound tin is 37 cents. And a 21-ounce bottle of salad oil is 53 cents. And their tagline is Hoffman's, a dependable grocery. So I don't know. I always love what these taglines are because it means the bar wasn't very high. What are you known for? Well, we're dependable. Oh, that's really good because most of them are not. I don't know that that's true. It just makes me laugh. We could go to Miss Jane's school. Well, we couldn't. We're too old. Well, unless you're listening with a child. Miss Jane's school, kindergarten to 9th year, primary grades, out of doors. Aesthetic, dancing, and French. Fall term opens on September 24th. Then there is an ad for a dentist, Dr. Guy, middle initial M, Ruff. I mean, that's kind of unfortunate that a dentist is named Dr. Ruff. Yeah, I'm sure he was probably a great dentist. I'm just saying that's an unfortunate name for a dentist. All right, and a bit more from community events and social pages. Mrs. Reynolds returns to Hollywood. Mrs. Z.W. Reynolds, widow of the late Captain Reynolds, United States Navy, has returned to her home at 1807 B. Highland Avenue after spending the summer at Coronado Beach, which is down towards San Diego. Her son, Stuart Reynolds, who has just received his discharge from the Navy, left Thursday for the East, where he will resume his studies at Yale University. Mrs. Ruth and Eleanor Reynolds will be with their mother this winter. Mrs. Reynolds and her daughters returned to Los Angeles from Washington this spring, having spent the past few years in the national capital, where they enjoyed such popularity in social and naval circles. I don't know who any of these people are, but apparently they were doing some traveling around. Here's prenuptials for Miss Anderson. So Miss Trella Irene Anderson, bride-elect of Sidney Van Horn, was the motif for a miscellaneous shower and tea given by Mrs. R.L. Hazen Friday afternoon. Mrs. F.S. Van Horn, mother of the groom-to-be, has invited a company to dinner Sunday in honor of the betrothed couple. A few days ago, Mrs. Marshall Stuckey Anderson gave a luncheon as a prenuptial courtesy to her daughter and the girls of her bridal party. So there's a lot going on here for this wedding. Mrs. William Mabie entertained with a novel affair at her home Tuesday evening for Miss Anderson's fiancé, Mr. Van Horn. Wow, there's a lot happening. Okay, here is the Hollywood School for Girls. Hollywood School for Girls, which has earned its place as one of the leading private schools of Los Angeles, will open for the new school year on Thursday, September 25th. During the vacation, the school building at 1749 La Brea have undergone extensive enlargements and improvements, and in addition, the school has taken over the Witherethall home on La Brea to be used for the home department. Miss Eunice Gray, a Stanford graduate, has been engaged as a house mother. The school will have a strong teaching force as in former years. Mr. Harmon D. Rias will continue in charge of the music department. Miss Emma Lowbridge will have mathematics, and Miss Linda Holt Hazelton the art department. Miss Pruden, a new instructor from Lewis Institute, Chicago, will have charge of domestic science and sewing. I just had to take a breath because I think many of you who listen might be, I don't know, within 10 years or so of my generation. And when I was in school, I had home ec, and the boys had shop. And I will tell you, home ec was a very practical class. I learned a lot of things that are still applicable to life. And it's not that I think that the girls should have home ec and the boys should have shop, but I think school should include some of these more practical skills, right? Like how to change the oil in a car, how to change a tire, how to sew a seam. You know, those are skills that keep on giving. So we would have learned that here at this school. And Mrs. Louise Knappen Willett, the principal, promises the maintenance of the highest educational standards, and her pupils going out into the world or to other schools have amply fulfilled her promise. Wow, I struggled reading that, but I'm going to leave it in because I don't want to re-record it, and we're friends, so you're not going to really care, and maybe you're asleep, right? So now we're going into another issue of Holly Leaves, so let's see what I can find for us here. The theater season opens. I'm sure that was delightful. Third year of Hollywood Community Enterprise begins Monday night with 4 one-act plays. So it says that the Hollywood Community Theater is beginning its 3rd season next Monday night at the same high point of its popularity that was reached when its 2nd season closed. It is evidenced by the fact that this year's contributing members and their guests, together with the season ticket holders, brought up the entire house for the first week's performance on the first day the box office opened. And already a second week is fast going in the way of the first. This second week is, as unusual, the limit of the production owing to the fact that the volunteer actors cannot spare more than that very considerable amount of their time. And I have to apologize because there's like some planes and cars going by, so if the ambient noise is a little bit more than usual, I apologize. It should pass over soon. Thanks. Well, here's an interesting one. So this is for the Wilshire Country Club that was going to occupy part of Hancock Estate. So Hancock Park is sort of on the east side of the west side of Los Angeles, if that makes sense. So it's not as far east as downtown. It's sort of near La Brea and Highland and a little further south, and it was known for these beautiful homes, like big homes, studio money, right? This is where the wealthy lived back in the day. I mean, gorgeous homes still to this day. So this was about a prospectus of plans of new organization to occupy part of Hancock Estate. So a beautifully printed prospectus of the Wilshire Country Club has been distributed among prospective members in Hollywood during the week, showing attractive illustrations of the club site and describing in full the club plans. The grounds include about 200 acres lying between Melrose Avenue and 3rd Street and extending on the east nearly to Vine Street. Oh, that's definitely not Hancock Park anymore. That is absolutely developed in Hollywood and like near the Grove, right? 3rd Street and, well, no, it's past the Grove. It's west. It would be east of the Grove. Not that you care. I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking, where does Melrose and 3rd and Vine come in? That's pretty far east. So the property is taken upon a lease from Mr. G. Allen Hancock with an option to purchase. The lease is to run for 15 years from and after January 1st, 1920, with right to possession at any time desired before that date for the installation of improvements. The rental during the 15-year period amounts to approximately 6% on a valuation of $500 an acre, or less than 1 1/3% on a valuation of $2,500 per acre for the land, which is considered reasonable valuation for subdivision purposes. The club holds an option to purchase the entire property at any time during the 15 years at a price of $1,250 per acre, plus interest at 4% per annum, compounded annually. Well, there you go. I don't know that was actually erected there. I'm not really up on my whole country club in Los Angeles scene, so, and I'm not going to look it up either. Because, some things are meant to stay a mystery. Well, here's a cool business opportunity. There is an orange grove for sale, because who does not want to own an orange grove? So nearly 10 acres, 1/2 mile from Corona on San Diego Boulevard, 8 acres in Washington navel oranges, 2 acres in seedless grapefruit, all mature trees, 20 shares of water, more than sufficient at all times, $10,000. You know who is selling it is our dentist, Dr. Ruff. So he's showing up twice in this issue. Okay, let's see what else I can come up with for us. One of the other places that gets mentioned in these issues is the Crotona Institute of Theosophy. So I'm fascinated by this. So the Theosophical Foundation purchased this beautiful land in the hills of Hollywood, and they built the Crotona Institute. And so they would have lectures and classes, and it totally would have been a place I would have wanted to go there back in the day. So it says the foothill end of Vista Del Mar Avenue in Hollywood, free public lecture every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. All branches of Theosophy taught in the Institute. 3 sessions each year. Ask for the program. Mailed free on application. The phone number is 57552. Missing a few digits in the modern age. Library, cafeteria, and campus open to the public daily. Theosophical literature is on sale. So if you are new to the world of Theosophy, it is very metaphysical. It was very popular in the late 1800s and early up to sort of like 1920, 1930. And my husband, Wes, actually collects old theosophical books because they're fascinating. Here we like to think that we invented the New Age, and we really haven't invented anything. It all existed before. All right, so good news. Prompt and efficient service will continue to be the policy of the Southern California Telephone Company. under the regime of N.R. Powley, who has taken up his new duties as commercial superintendent of the company. Did you get that? Prompt and efficient service will continue. I don't know if they're being snarky or what. And then a Hollywood prestige grows with the consummation of the plans of the Theater Arts Alliance, which now seems assured Hollywood is likely to come into a new kind of prominence in addition to the prestige attendant on the success of the enterprise as the expression of the cultural aspirations of the larger community of which Hollywood is a part. They have no idea how powerful Hollywood is going to become. Just give it a couple years, guys. It's going to be huge. Okay, this is interesting. So they're talking about Senator Cornelius Cole, who is getting ready to celebrate his 97th birthday. And he was a contemporary of President Lincoln's. So, as vigorous in mind and body as most men half his age, Cornelius Cole, former United States Senator, celebrated his 97th birthday anniversary today at his home at 6121 Lexington Avenue. The house was beautifully decorated with flowers, and 26 members of the centenarian and octogenarian clubs were his guests. Following an afternoon of reminiscences, the party gathered around the dinner table, where congratulations were presented to Senator Cole, who made a brief speech of welcome. Two of his guests were of the same age as Senator Cole. They were Reverend Dr. J.M. Peebles and Reverend P.C. Prue, both 97. A.A. Ennis, 98, and Mrs. H.B. Moore, 99, were the oldest persons present. In the days of 49, Mr. Cole, then 27 years old, crossed the plains to California. He was elected to Congress in 1862 and served throughout the Civil War. He was at the side of Lincoln when the latter read his famous address at Gettysburg. I mean, that's pretty incredible, right? He was elected United States Senator in 1866, and as such was a member of the court which heard the impeachment proceedings against President Andrew Johnson. Senator Cole was a warm friend of the late United States Senator George F. Edmunds, who passed away at Pasadena a few months ago. That's just remarkable. Yeah, to have been there at the Gettysburg Address. Okay, well, we talked about the Theosophical Society, and this really was a time for healers and psychics. So there's a pretty good-sized ad here that says, if you are ill in mind or body, if you are in doubt or sorrow, consult America's practical psychologist and metaphysician, Victor Latour, Ph.D., psychic, advisor, healer, teacher, and author of books that help and heal. Consultation is free. Oh, that's where they get you. I'll come back to that in a second. If you cannot come in person, send for the New Life Science, a rational treatise on practical metaphysics. It is sent free. Office hours from 1 to 5 at 6702 Hollywood Boulevard. So anytime anybody is giving you a free consultation, you know that it's not really a free consultation, right? It's basically you're going in so they can sell you something. You know, if somebody looks at your palm and says, you have been hurt by love and you have a block, and for $5,000 I can help you clear it, you know to go running in the other direction, right? I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying I always get a little wary when people offer free consultations because unless they are absolute saints, they're not doing that just because. But I do love that he's a psychologist and metaphysician, my kind of guy. Oh, this is interesting. So this is about the development of new homes in Hollywood. So a new scene of real estate activity is being prepared at the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Vista Del Mar, where a cottage office building is being erected on the Bartlett home track for the joint use of Jack Mitchell Builder and H.C. I have no idea how to pronounce this. I'm going to try it though. Sahelenu. I don't know. Saehlenou. Realtor. They are going to, I'm so sorry if I really just mangled that name. They are going to develop this and other properties in the vicinity by building to sell. Argyle Avenue and Carlos Avenue will be opened through the tract, and some of the finest residence sites in Hollywood are promised as a result. Sales of this property have already begun, and active building operations will soon be underway. And the new home for LB Motor Company. Work is progressing rapidly on the new building that is being erected on Hollywood Boulevard just west of the Wright service station for the LB Motor Company, which has become Hollywood agent for the Jordan Motor Car. The site is nearly opposite the new home of the Howard Motor Company in the midst of what is rapidly developing into the automobile row of Hollywood. And speaking of real estate, big headline, it says big bargain in home on Hawthorne. Just placed in our hands to sell is one of the few houses left in Hollywood that has a last year's price. This one is even better than that, for the owner has spent a great amount of money improving the house and has cut the last year's price $500 in addition. This is a real home on Hawthorne Avenue between Highland and La Brea. 5 bedrooms, a big sleeping porch, 2-room cellar, furnace, Rudd heater. There is a patio that is a dream of comfort and beauty, looking out over one of the most beautiful backyards in Hollywood. The lot is 70 by 179. The house is not a new one, but it was built by Mr. O.P. Dennis and would cost today very close to the price asked for the whole property. It is in wonderful condition, with hardwood floors throughout, has 2 bathrooms, and is thoroughly modern. It is so arranged that the upstairs can be shut off, leaving a very complete 5-bedroom bungalow downstairs. This place will last but a few days, and we have the exclusive sale at $12,500. We advise quick action. Okay, and we'll go back to some of the community happenings. Another event at the Crotona Institute of Theosophy, because, you know, if I'm going in the Wayback Machine, I want to hang out there. So, the Crotona Institute cordially invites the public of Hollywood and Los Angeles to the entertainment which will be given Wednesday evening, October 1st, at 8 o'clock, under the direction of Wilson Fritch, the well-known teacher of oratory and dramatics, and his wife, who is known to the public as Helen Hastings. The program for the evening will be given by the daughters of Mr. and Mrs. Fritch, and will be devoted to the interpretations of the poems of Catherine Howard by Mrs. Ruth Marie and Grace Ingram Fritch. Catherine Howard has written to Dr. and Mrs. Fritch, expressing her pleasure over the taking up of her work because they understand the message and know the artistry with which it should be given. It is from her book, Poems, that the readings of the evening will be given, and the program will keep within an hour and a quarter, and there will be no admission charge. Okay, well, I take it back. I don't know that I want to go to an hour of poetry. Not that there's anything wrong with poetry, but I don't know how entertained I would be. So, maybe not. Maybe I'll save my time travel in the TARDIS for something else. But you go if you want. It'll be okay. Okay, here's a really good ad. The headline says, "I'm too busy to write an ad." Well, I'm too busy to write an ad, but I want you all to know that anytime you want to build anything, from a bungalow to a skyscraper, I am right here and ready to furnish the plans and do the work. Hicks the builder. Great ad copy. I'm too busy to talk to you, but I'm here to build stuff. Call me up. Well, it looks like there is a restaurant being renovated. It's called the Hollywood Dairy Lunch. So W.F. Kuntz has been making a great transformation in the appearance and equipment of the Hollywood Dairy Lunch at 6518 Hollywood Boulevard. The place has been refitted, refurnished, and redecorated throughout in a most pleasing manner. A U-shape William Stone counter with 32 stools of latest design has taken the place of the old counter and booths, and everything from front door to kitchen has been made new and thoroughly up to date. Mr. Kuntz has been very successful in his experience in the cafe world and expects with his new equipment to command a larger patronage than ever. I wonder if they only serve dairy stuff then. No meat. I wonder what that means, a dairy lunch. And a little bit more from the Crotona Institute of Theosophy. A.P. Warrington, president of the American section of the Theosophical Society, will deliver the lecture Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock on the theosophical basis for world peace. Now that sounds like that would come in handy right about now. At 5 o'clock, the editor of The Messenger, Mrs. Alice Evans, will continue her class in Bible study. This time she will deal with the epistle to the Ephesians. I'm sorry, I don't know all of these things. The book of Evolving Humanity. Again, sounds good to me. Let's evolve humanity, please. So, number 1, the hidden mystery. Number 2, the at one moment. Number 3, the development of the disciple. And 4, practical rules of life. All are welcome. Admission is free, and there will be no collection. There are also some ads here. We can go see a chiropedist, which I would imagine is a chiropractor, but I just totally mangled the name. Oh, chiropedist? I don't know. Chiro, so C-H-I-R-O, podist, P-O-D-I-S-T. Don't suffer, because who wants to? Quick relief, arches and foot appliances. It's a podiatrist, but they called it something different then. And then, for summer vacation, if we want to go to the San Bernardino Mountain Resorts. So this company, the Pacific Electric Railway, so has agents of this company, upon request, will provide you with folders descriptive of any of the beautiful, healthful resorts of the San Bernardino Mountains. They will ascertain for you without cost whether accommodations are available at any of them and at what cost. They will advise you and assist you in shipping your own camp outfit to any point accessible in the mountains and arrange for its return to your home destination after your vacation. They will arrange all your transportation details gladly so that every feature of the journey may so far as possible be pleasant and your stay among the great trees of our own mountains the happiest days of your life. So that every feature of the journey may so far as possible, as far as it's possible, we'll make it pleasant. but it may not be possible. So, you know what? I'm a little punchy. Very interesting. Okay, this one caught my eye because those of you who are regular listeners or friends of mine will know that I lived for about 1.5 years in Tarrytown, New York, which is in Westchester County. The reason this one caught my eye is it is about a daughter who is going to school in Tarrytown. So it says Miss Catherine Sigrist, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. F.H. Sigrist, formerly of Hawthorne Avenue, is entering Miss Mason's school, the Castle, in Tarrytown on the Hudson, New York, where she will study interior decoration, costume design, and the violin. Miss Sigrist was a member of the June 1919 graduating class of the Hollywood High School and was also an active member of the Hollywood Junior Auxiliary for the past 2 years. So, from Hollywood to Tarrytown. I did that once upon a time. And then I went from Tarrytown back to Hollywood. Well, really Los Angeles, but, well, really Beverly Hills adjacent if we're going to be. I don't say that to sound snooty. Literally, my neighborhood was a half a block out of Beverly Hills, and we were called Beverly Hills adjacent. But I was not on the Beverly Hills side of the street. I was on the Los Angeles side of things, in case you're wondering. So how is that for rambling? We rambled and rambled through the Holly Leaves from 1919. And we read some exceptionally boring material that my hope is will have caused you to doze off. Unless, of course, you're driving, in which case I hope you're riveted and staying awake. But you know what I mean. So, my friends, we did it. Another new episode, finally. After all this time, I am grateful to be here with you, and I send you love, and I am grateful for our time together, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thank you.